Motorsport Radio. Join the conversation and have your say on motorsport-radio.com. Motorsport Radio. The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. We are back once again for another couple of hours of talking about bikes. Everything from BSB, MotoGP, World Superbikes is what we're sorting out as well during tonight's show. And everything else, all the big breaking news that sometimes breaks during the show, we'll have it here for you. And also, we've got the little matter of a big interview with Mr. Julian Ryder on the show right here a bit later, so stay tuned for that. We will be having lots of your comments that we've had flood in to our internet streams on the Facebook variety, as our Mr. Kiko Giles put out a fantastic, what was it, Kiko? A picture, image or something?
Yes, hello, welcome first of all.
Hello,
thanks for joining us. I'm Kiko Giles, Lester Forbes alongside me, and tonight we're going to be talking loads of stuff. Thursday is the day where the Superbike Show comes alive once more. Yes, we put a little post out on Wednesday, and it was surrounding the recent announcement that there may well be a Mexican Grand Prix in MotoGP next year, and they will be using the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit, the one that the current Formula One guys use for their Mexican Grand Prix. A lot of speculation about that happening in the early part of the season, make it 4 flyaways at the start of the year. That is a controversial thing. We have put a poll out, should it happen at this circuit? No one's against the Mexican Grand Prix, but it's at the venue that we have chosen. So, lots of comments will be flooding in on that one, but that is our main talking point today. So, keep comments coming in both on the post and on the stream, and we will
react to them,
everything.
Yeah, we do certainly read them.
We will acknowledge them. We'll read them. We may even give them a mention next week when we come back once more. But on the show tonight, Thuxton we're talking about from British Superbikes. We're talking about Brno and the Czech Grand Prix, what a race that was. We're also going to be looking ahead to the Austrian round of the MotoGP Championship, round 11 of 19. And we'll be talking Cool Fab as well, because that comes to you from the metropolitan area of North Wales in Glanigors. The Motorsport Awards mug there on display for the visual radio stream viewers. Lester, what is Motorsport Awards before we get into the news?
It's the Motorsport Awards. The official Motorsport Awards will take place in December, on December the 9th, and it will award all the mostly unsung heroes of motorsport. Everything from cars, bikes, engineers, the media, commentators, also the best, for example, insurance companies. Very underrated, because it's hard to find a good one. You know bad ones, but which are the good ones? Maybe someone should be deserving of a Motorsport Award. For example, there are other categories. Check them out, motorsportawards.com. And during the build-up to the award ceremony in December, you will actually get to vote on who should be nominated and shortlisted for some of the categories. And you can even vote on the winners, like the best car racer, the best bike racer, the best young, talented type of racers, all the different categories, all the different timelines. And we're looking to not just exclusively award things to just British people. It is open to almost anybody, but we do have a British kind of focus as we are in Britain. And it is the Motorsport Awards. And we want this awards to be one of the best motorsport awards, because that's what it literally is, a Motorsport Awards. So check it out, motorsportawards.com.
It's going to be fascinating. December the 9th. I shall be in Cologne then, but I will be taking the Motorsport Media Group on tour to an international audience once more, like we do with this very show, the Superbike Show, reaching thousands of people in all corners of the globe.
Exactly. Right, on with the show then. And The news, Kiko, what's on?
MotoGP, we're a bit thin on the ground with news, I must admit, this week. Pol Espargaro is going to miss the Austrian GP due to a broken collarbone sustained in an accident in warm-up at the Czech Grand Prix. He's avoided surgery, but as we understand it here, there is going to be no replacement rider because, of course, Mika Kallio has also decided to knacker his knees up. That was at the German round when he was wildcard entrant for the KTM team. Max Biaggi, this news broke a little bit before last week's show, but we didn't get it out. Max Biaggi is now global ambassador for Aprilia. He won his championships into 50cc Grand Prix with Aprilia. He won a World Superbike Championship with Aprilia. I think he actually won 2 with Aprilia. But either way, massive ambassador for them, and great to see him being recognised on the global level by what is really quite a small manufacturer based in Noale in Italy. MotoGP rumour really, but more to do with British Superbike. Scott Redding is maybe on his way back to Britain. Paul Bird confirmed that he was talking to the Gloucestershire rider who currently rides for Aprilia. Scott Redding may well be racing at Silverstone next year, but maybe not in MotoGP. May well be British Superbikes instead. And the big talking point, we've already touched on it, the Mexican Grand Prix for MotoGP in Mexico City, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, a circuit that has been controversial with motorcycle racing before, back in the 90s. Recently been really very well renovated for car racing in Mexico, hosts the Formula One Mexican round, of course. But there is talk of that round coming in to MotoGP next year. Lots of controversy about it. Some stating it's not safe. There are going to be changes made for this to go ahead. But I still question whether them changes are going to make much difference. But that's the MotoGP news. Not much of it around this week, Lester.
Slow news week, one would say. But yeah, we are sort of focused a little bit on World Superbikes as well. And we will be having, as we said earlier, Mr. Julian Ryder on to give his thoughts about what in particular, what we're going to bombard him with. What do we want to know for this evening?
First, I think first of all, we're going to be talking a bit about how he's, what's he doing? Because, of course, he left BT Sport at the end of last year, retired out of MotoGP, not retired overall, but which he hates people saying he has retired, because he absolutely hasn't.
BSB, wasn't he?
BSB, the Suzuka 8-hour, of course, does a little bit of wheeling and dealing with his antiques and so on and so forth. We're going to be talking about him, talking to him about MotoGP and stuff like that. British Superbikes as well, but we are going to talk to him about Mexico as well. His insight is vital, and you will see why later when we do talk to him about that.
Yeah, there's also, as we go through the show this evening, there's a couple of potential news articles that I'm keeping my eye on that might either break, that have become gossip and might turn into news during the show, which is something that regularly happens. But we'll keep our eye on that and tell you more if it does. As Kiko said, if you are tuned in to us and this is your first ever experience of Motorsport Radio or the Superbike Show, hello and welcome. You're more than welcome to give us a nice little share and tell your other motorsport friends all about us, because we do regular live shows every single week here on Motorsport Radio, and we just talk about motorsport. And we do it, it started out as radio, but we do everything sort of visually now as
more emotive connections now.
Sort of.
Motorsport Radio, a show that cares.
Moving on. I won't go that far, but...
No.
Anyway, so you mentioned at the start of the news there regarding Pol and KTM and such. Kiko, how do you think they'll probably approach their home weekend?
Gonna be awkward for them with their multi-million-pound hospitality unit, and there's only going to be one rider in the Premier class. We understand it is only Bradley Smith. The even more awkward bit about that is he's not being kept on next year. So, yeah, KTM really put themselves in a weird situation there. Bradley probably will be okay. I think you're expecting points from him, possibly a top 10. But I don't know what they're going to do in terms of replacement. Red Bull will be desperate to have both their bikes out. This is the circuit owned by Red Bull. It's called the Red Bull Ring. KTM are sponsored by Red Bull. KTM are Austrian. This is their biggest event of the year. So massive blow, really, for them. In effect, Pol Espargaro's their star rider as well. He'd be the one you'd be looking at for the best results, but that's not going to happen because, of course, he is injured. He broke his collarbone. We're not sure when he's coming back, actually. Of course, the next round after Austria is the British Grand Prix at Silverstone and then to Misano, which I will be there for. But he should be back. He should be back by one of those rounds. But no.
Are you going to MotoGP at all, Kiko?
Might be doing.
Oh, yeah.
Might be doing my do. No, so... yeah, KTM, one entrant this weekend. Who knows? Maybe a young Miguel Oliveira might get a call up, although that'll be silly because he is now your Moto2 Championship leader. But more on Moto2 later.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it was Tony Elias who said that maybe going back to Moto2 takes balls, referring to potentially Brad Smith. But again...
Well, Elias would know. He's done that before. He was a rider who was flicking about for a few years. 2009 MotoGP, 2010 Moto2 in its first year, champion for Moriwaki. Back up to MotoGP with LCR Honda in 2011. Back down to Moto2 in 2012. World Superbikes towards the end of 2013, and then since then he's kind of been a bit lost. But Tony Elias, he would know. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Your thoughts on that? We do like to read all the comments, even if we don't necessarily read any of them out. We do certainly read and enjoy all of the comments. Most of them, anyway.
Most of them, yeah.
And other news then, World Superbikes. Kiko, what's been going on?
World Superbikes, right. Motul are confirmed as the sponsors for the... proposed Argentine round of the World Superbikes this year, coming from the San Juan province in Argentina. That is the circuit as it is now. That happens.
What are you talking about? I don't know. I can't see anything.
Yeah, that happens at the end of October. Now it is currently the 9th of August. We have 2.5 months, and that is what they have so far. Of course, we don't know how old that photo is. But
just to describe what Kiko's actually talking about, it's a building site with a little bit of.
When we say building site, it's a bit.
Well, there are no buildings.
Site in scenery. It's a building site that should be happening. For the listeners who haven't seen this, if you're on our visual radio stream, you'll know what we're on about. But if you're not. Basically, there's this new circuit being built in the San Juan province of Argentina. It's nothing to do with the Termas de Rio Hondo, completely different government in this area. It's run and self-funded by totally different parties.
So it's a bit like the Circuit of Wales, then?
Bit like a circuit of Wales, but at least they've got the track built here. So, the diggers are there and there's no curbing on the circuit. They've got no service or access roads, really. There's no paddock being built.
I like the way that they've got at least Armco there.
They've got Armco, and can I just stress, this has got to be homologated soon. Like they haven't actually got the facilities in, let alone this has got to be homologated weeks before the event. I'm telling you, that is very touch and go. I wouldn't have the Argentine round of this World Superbike Series confirmed in at all.
Do we know exactly when this was taken, this image that we're looking at right
These
now?
are the most recent images of the...
that you could find on Google?
No, these are from the official World Superbike website.
All right.
If I just flick around now and have a look whilst that photo is up...
Because there may be some fan photos or something on Facebook, or, how some people sort of go there just to check it out, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you never quite know, and whether it's just journalists trying to be a bit sensationalist, or if it is actually just like that. Because every circuit starts out as a mess. Even the Red Bull Ring looked very much like that just a couple of years ago, which seemed to be never to be a thing ever again. But it's back.
It is, same as the Mexico City Raceway, whatever it's called there, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. That was very different. In fact, I think it's so much change you can still see the old circuit loop round the back of the new grandstands. We'll come on to that later. If you're on Facebook, Motorsport Radio, on Twitter, @MSportRadio, the photo of there's a bird's eye view of the circuit. It's new circuit there for you to all see and enjoy. But there, World Superbike news. Besides that, the Argentine round, Triple M Honda, according to one Mr. Gregory Haynes, may well expand to 2 bikes in 2019. So that will be very interesting to see if they can get a two-pronged attack in the independent Honda team. It'd be brilliant if it happens.
Right. So with World Superbikes seemingly not able to convince everybody that it's made the necessary changes to get, I don't know, what we judging it against, back to its best whenever we were young.
Yeah, early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah, depending on how old you were, that's, whenever you were young, basically, I suppose.
Yeah.
That you would say. But really, though, what does it need to do, really, to first of all, just get more bikes back on the grid, if that is needed?
I like the phrase, you only need 2 bikes to have a race, or 2 cars to have a race, because, at the end of the day, you do.
Well, nobody sells tickets with 2 bikes on a track.
Exactly. So I'm thinking that, they're in a step in the right direction, getting a manufacturer on board a little bit more, a couple more bikes out. Yamaha are also trying to do the same, don't forget. They're also trying to get a second team out there. They've approached Marco Melandri to be part of that. So getting more bikes out on the grid is a good thing, providing they're competitive. And at the moment, the Triple M Honda just isn't. And that's a problem. I'm afraid that is a massive problem. There's no point filling grid slots. Unless you're going to sell it off as a separate series, maybe have an Evo class or a World Superbike Cup class. Is there much point? You want a good 10 or 12 riders who could win races. At the moment, we've got a good 6. Now, them 6 are quality riders. The biggest issue is 4 of them are British and 2 of them are other nationalities, Italian and Dutch. So, yes, having more bikes on the grid is going to help, but you need to get different nationalities on them bikes and make sure them bikes are quick, first of all. They've got PJ Jacobson there at the moment, but rumour has it he might not stay there anyway. So all change may be set down at Triple M Honda completely.
Interesting. Okay. Let us know your thoughts if you have any at all. What does World Superbikes, if anything, need to do to get more bikes on track? And is that maybe the thing that the World Superbikes needs to do?
We should also say, now we don't normally do this, but there is a World Superbike survey that fans can take part in. Now, it's not on our site, it's on another site, motorsport.com. I think that group owns motorsport.com, Autosport, and another site that I can't remember the name of. But anyway, World Superbikes has partnered up with them, and basically the fans can say, what direction would you like World Superbikes to go in? Now, for me, when I was filling it out, because as well as a journalist and maybe a broadcaster, I don't know if we can push it that far yet, but, journalist.
We all know what you'd like to do, having read last week's article on the website. He wants elephants rolling down pit lane.
Unfortunately,
he wants a circus on the start, finish straight.
Unfortunately, those options were not available.
Oh, okay.
But you can say, do you want to have the current format of a split race system, or would you like all the races on a Sunday? How would you like qualifying? And, for me, that's quite a straightforward answer. Both races on Sunday. Saturday's a waste of time, basically, apart from qualifying. It's that kind of thing. You also get thrown into a little competition at the end of the survey. Thanks for your time.
You win a Superbike?
You enter a competition, and I think that's for VIP hospitality treatment at a round of your choice in 2019. I think it's of your choice. The winner is revealed at Qatar, the end of season party.
Don't want to go Qatar. Jesus.
End of season party with Rosewater and no fans there down in Doha. But we should also stress that whilst people might just think, it's only a survey, 270,000 people did take part in a similar survey, which was to help revive F1 when Liberty Media took over. So don't write it off just yet. It may well do something. Yes. And if you don't think yours say matters, it is not an election. Just put down what you want. It's not.
Don't.
Brexit.
Oh God!
Everyone has a voice. Everyone can say what they want.
It's good that they're at least reaching out to the fans, isn't it?
Yes, they've acknowledged that they need to go in a different direction at what their organisers doing. I think.
Well, potentially, yeah. They're taking if I don't know if any of us come up with some good ideas, or maybe they think, or they just want us to back up what they think their good ideas are. Maybe that's the reason for it. And if it ends up producing what I think some of us want, then maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. We'll let you know, keep you updated on any, Kiko will anyway, on any of the latest minutiae of rule changes in World Superbikes and which racetracks they should go back to and why it's not like the 90s and why it should get more like the 90s again and that sort of thing. Anyway, moving on. BSB, yes. Thruxton.
No. Whoa. False start.
All right.
Hold up. Steady on.
Go on.
Last bit of news. There's very little news in British Superbikes, but I can tell you now, if I said the words National Superstock 1000, know there's been a rider change. And this time it is Ben Godfrey. He has joined Team IMR for the remainder of the year. Should a bit more news onto that. Adrian Gorster's come. Now, he used to work for World Superbikes. Back when it was Castrol Honda. He used to work for Honda when it was Castrol Honda alongside Neil Tuxworth, I believe. So that is I tell you, that team, turbulent couple of rounds. That's a very fair thing to say, I think. Ben Godfrey going there. We know Ben's a quick rider from Long Eaton, just down the road from me, know him very well. So Ben Godfrey getting a good chance there with Team IMR. So Ian Moffat's team back down to one bike for the remainder of the year. Of course, news broke on the show last week that Jordan Gilbert would not be riding for the team much longer.
Just remind me, there's been so many changes in Stock 1000. It's very difficult to keep up, even for Kiko, and he's like an oracle. I
believe that's 15 now.
Okay. Where was Ben previously? Before
Ben was on a super sport bike for the last two rounds, and it was really lacking horsepower. Right. And before that, he was at Mission Racing, which is where Chrissy Rouse and Jordan Gilbert came from originally. Yes. So yeah, Team IMR taking some of the
and even Mission Racing have.
Well, they've gone for now. Yeah, Russell Owen's team. We did an interview with Russell Owen, actually. It's a little bit out of date, but if you would like to check it out, along with the other amazing content we have on our site, motorsport.radio is the place.
Yeah, motorsport.radio, place to check it out. Good luck, Ben, and Team IMR.
Yes, absolutely.
For the rest of the year, if it is indeed that long. Moving on, BSB at Thruxton. And, what happened? Kiko.
Leon Haslam taking a brilliant win in the last lap of race one against Jake Dixon. That was something. Who really, we didn't bet against it completely, but we did think that maybe Leon Haslam might be on the back foot. And hadn't won a race coming into Thruxton, but he has now. He beat Jake Dixon on the last lap. Crowd were going mental, I can tell you. Mm-hmm. Josh Brooks collided with Jason O'Halloran at the final chicane in race one. Both of them ran off track. And Peter Hickman, can I just say, rider of the weekend, I gave to Sean Winfield on Saturday. However, and level with Sean Winfield, I won't say better, but level with Sean Winfield, Peter Hickman, third place and second place in the races, and he had a kidney infection. Unbelievable. How did he do that? Chrissy Rouse also had a good weekend, got his first top 10 for Househall Racing. Mason Law had a fantastic weekend for the WD-40 Kawasaki team. Bradley Ray crashed out of race one and took Danny Buchan and Michael Laverty with him at the final chicane, so that has blown the bottom end of the showdown completely wide open now, especially as Peter Hickman's come to good form.
He's had a few of them lately, hasn't he, Brad?
Brad has, he has. I think over-exuberance of the right wrist, but not in the way that many people will now think. Race 2, we'll talk about Josh Brooks, Peter Hickman, Jake Dixon, 1, 2 and 3. Gino Ria. Now, people think Gino Ria didn't score any points over the weekend. Can I just say, and I said this all last week, Thruxton, expect surprising results.
Yeah, but to be fair, you said that about absolutely every possible scenario.
because Thruxton provides
surprising results. Yeah, you never know.
Really out of the blue results. And Gino Ria, had there been a third race, his lap time from race 2 would have qualified him 6th.
Okay, yeah.
He didn't score any points, but it still would have qualified him 6th. So he's showing signs of making some progress.
Although he was testing. Just sorry to interrupt. He did. I think he jumped on a stock 1000 bike to do some testing, and it was rumoured that he was maybe going to enter a race as well.
Yeah, I think he jumped on a Superstock 1000 bike, but he didn't take part in the race.
No.
But had he taken part in the race, his teammate won. So Josh Elliott taking the win from the OMG Racing Suzuki team. You can read all about that on the motorsport.radio website. Anyway, but yeah, Gino Ria showing signs of improvement. James Ellison on one side of the Anvil Hire Tag Racing Yamaha Garage had a disastrous weekend again. That's got to be a showdown. Hope's over. But Sean Winfield, his teammate, got into the Q2 for the first time ever. Now, people will say, it's only Sean Winfield at the back of the... Doesn't matter. No one out there is doing a poor job. Sean Winfield, hats off to you. Brilliant qualifying. Looked good all weekend. So happy for him. Until he took Danny Buchan out, which Jim Buchan wasn't happy about. Neither was Danny, but never mind. Tom Neves' BSB debut. Yeah, I think that... fell apart. 2 big crashes for him. 2 bikes nicely wrote off. Honda will love him, and they've got Cadwell Park to go yet. But no, Tom Neve, first round on a BSB bike. In all seriousness, very difficult circuit to go to. Thruxton's a scary place at the best of times. The biggest bit of positive news is that Luke Mossey is well and truly back.
Yay.
Maybe a bit late for the showdown charge, but he is now capable of running at the front, and that is great to see, really. Luke Mossey back at the front, where he belongs. 2 fastest laps for him at Thruxton. Strangely enough, at the circuit where it all went wrong for him last year.
Yeah, it is good to see Luke, like you say, with much improved performances for whatever reason. Don't know the reason, to be honest.
I think he's just got his confidence back. I honestly think that's... I know he killed his tyre off in race 1, but the confidence he would have got from just leading a race again.
And he has had some massive incidents.
Crashes. Yeah, huge crashes. The worst one, of course, coming at Thruxton last year. I mean, he's had a couple of 3 brake failures, I think, since then. So, yeah, confidence must have been at an all-time low. But we knew Luke would come back. But, yeah, great to see him back.
So then the showdown, as it stands at the moment, let's say who are the vulnerable people who you might think, who potentially anyway, some people might think, oh yeah, he's definitely through. Don't care, whatever. He'll pick up and he'll be through. But who really is? Who's going to surprise us here? Who's actually safe right now? And who is vulnerable, and who could surprise?
I think the easy way to look at it, top 3 are safe, I'd say. I don't think there's any question Leon Haslam and Jake Dixon are going through. Josh Brooks should be more or less through. 3 race wins out of 4 races, out of the last 4 races. And a good showing. Starting to come good now. He's really on form. But the bottom 3, Glenn Irwin, difficult weekend for him at Thruxton, a place where he took his first BSB podium, of course, 2 years ago. Bradley Ray... crashing out in race 1 didn't help, but taking Danny Buchan with him didn't help Danny either. He was 6th, then he got taken out again in race 2. So the bottom 3 scoring not many points there really over the weekend. Peter Hickman's massive points haul has put him back in contention. Christian Eden got some points from the weekend. He's still there or thereabouts. There is a lot of time left to come in this showdown. We know Christian Eden will be fast at Cadwell and and Silverstone. We know Peter Hickman loves Cadwell Park, went well there last year off the back of a stunning Ulster Grand Prix. There is no one in that bottom 3 of the showdown that's safe.
Yeah, so it's. I suppose we'll get a better picture after Cadwell. In a couple of weeks next week. Next weekend, yes. So we will see who goes well. Like you say, I think Hickman had a particularly good weekend last year. Didn't he win at least 1 race there? No,
James Ellison and Leon Haslam were your race winners there last year. Hickman, I think, got a 3rd and a 4th. Okay. Because everyone expected him to dominate.
I remember us talking about him last year.
I said he'd go and do the double, and obviously in true style he didn't. And I slagged off McCams and said they wouldn't win a race that year. And of course they did. If you are a struggling team, accept my criticism because you'll win. James Ellison will win at Cadwell Park purely because I've been critical of the performance. Not critical, just mentioning it and saying it's a bit of a no luck situation. Thank you.
And since you've mentioned that, he's now not going to win. So sorry, James. Right. So BSB. Then let us know your thoughts. If you have a crystal ball like Kiko doesn't, then who might make the showdown? Who do you think is not in the showdown positions at the moment? Who's definitely going to do it? Who's going to come good in the next couple of races, in the next couple of rounds? Let us know. We will read them out, and I think we can even qualify some of the best ones for being included in some of your articles on the motorsport.radio website as well, I think. So, yeah, why not? Incidentally, by the way, before we move on and talk about other categories, if you are a budding journalist and maybe you fancy yourself as a bit of a writer like Kiko, or just a not a writer like me, and still want to maybe get your word out and have your say to the rest of the world in motorcycle racing, and don't know where to start. Maybe you've already
cars
as well, yes, but nobody, I suppose,
cares about them.
It's a bike audience, obviously. But yes, if you don't know where to start, or maybe you've already started up a blog and it's not getting that much traction, maybe, I don't know if I'm talking to you right now, and maybe you'd like to take your writing career up a step. Well, you now can, because Motorsport Radio is looking for journalists. Yay! With fantastic amount of passion, dedication, and the ability to write words in English, of course. And we've already had some submissions onto our website in the past week or so, and it's really easy to do. Join up on our website for free. Everything about Motorsport Radio is for free. We'll never ask you to join a Patreon thing or download a thing and pay for that.
We are not the Times.
Or we won't ask you for it. There'll be no crowdfunders here. No, none of that nonsense. So it's all for free. And all our content, all our shows, all our everything, all for free forever till I can't afford it anymore. Then we might ask you. But basically, head to the website.
We won't be walking around with no buckets asking for our wages.
Motorsport.radio and join up for free. And there is a fantastic green button on there that says publish, or I think it says write. I forgot what it says. That's really good, isn't it? And anyway, you can click on there and start writing your own story. Maybe create your own meme as well. That's a good little facility.
What do you mean by
that? So you can literally get your message, your story, your thoughts out to hundreds of thousands of people who Motorsport reaches. Millions. Indeed, yes. No, just and if you wanted to do that, or you could just enjoy the show and not. Right, this is Motorsport Radio. It's the Superbike Show. My name is Lester, and Kiko is here. We're still talking about what happened at Thruxton, and Supersport.
Well, front end tucking on Ben Curry's championship hopes after that one. Ben Curry, we'll talk about race 1 first. Curry and Kennedy took wins. Ben Curry race 1 in the sprint race. Jack Kennedy race 2 in the feature race. Kyle Ryder and Josh Owens were race winners in the GP2. Ryder, though, has got a damaged knee after that incident he suffered with Ben Curry at the final chicane. James Raspoli was looking really good on the ever-equipped Yamaha, the American, coming very, very close to some Supersport glory. Jack Kennedy, despite having probably one of his hardest weekends yet with his broken wrist, has got a bigger lead leaving Thruxton than what he had coming into Thruxton. That's always a good thing. And I said last week in the preview, if you want to watch it back, keep an eye on Sam Wilford. He got 6th and 5th. So just to prove a point that I was right for a change, Sam Wilford, good job indeed.
Well, you never said he'd get 6th and 5th, though, did you?
No, but I said he'd do well, and he did do very well.
Okay. I'll let you off with that. Well done, Sam, as well. Ben, there was an interesting picture that I saw, and I forgot where I saw it and who took it, so I'm not going to say other than that there was an interesting picture that I saw of the rider literally sat on top of Ben Curry on the bike. Have you seen that one? I think it was floating around social media at the time when they were having their incident, let's say. I'll try and find it and maybe put it up on the motorsport.radio, or maybe Kiko will.
Yes.
But now, we like Ben Curry. He's been on the show a couple of times.
Many times.
Has he just lost a potential title this weekend?
He hasn't helped it. I think that's obvious. No, it's not lost. And the only reason I say that is it just takes one of them things to happen with Jack Kennedy. It just takes Jack Kennedy to be in the Kyle Ryder situation.
Yeah, no one's guaranteed to finish every race, are they? So
exactly, but you can ride the perfect race. Kyle Ryder was riding a brilliant race, and he was caught up in someone else's accident, and that can happen. And it's just, and super sport, that will happen. They don't have a break when they go to Assen, and every year something happens out in Assen. It's just a weird feeling. Something strange happens. Someone comes up, qualifies on the front row you wouldn't expect to be there, and is there for the race. And yeah, I'm not banking anything. And also, I've got £100 on Ben Curry to win the championship with Steve Buckingham, who has chosen Jack Kennedy. So
hi, Steve.
Hello, Steve. Yes. So yeah, Ben, please don't do that again. I would like to keep hold of £100,
or else you're in big trouble, young man.
Well, I can afford it.
Well, anyway, but that's it's a shame for him, I suppose. Everyone goes through. I think he had a relatively stable-ish kind of season so far. He's not put too many feet wrong, has he?
No, he's been good. He had a retirement in Thruxton race too, but this one here. His crash is the first human error that's happened, let's say, which is a strange one. Let's be honest. It's not. It's not the Ben Curry way. He's not a rider who will just crash and crash and crash. Very rare to see him crash.
Everybody makes mistakes.
But everyone makes a mistake.
So.
Jack Kennedy could have his mistake yet, although some would say he already has when he crashed and tested.
That's hopefully it will. I don't know. I'm envisaging in that word. Hopefully it'll go down to the,
envisaging.
Yeah, that one. You know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, Stock 1000 then, and well, it was a fantastic winning weekend, the first winning weekend for OMG Racing.
Well done. We obviously look after the PR side of things, and wow, that made for an easier section of that. Come on, Gino, just break into that top 10, and I can do it in my sleep. Josh Elliott, fantastic win. Stock 1000, 7th round in for OMG Racing in their debut season. They're already winning. Josh Elliott, turbulent year, obviously left Morello Kawasaki, joined OMG, and is hit it off relatively well by the looks of things. So, brilliant win for them. Taylor McKenzie took second place on the line by 200ths of a second from Lee Jackson, who was third for FS3. So we had Suzuki, BMW and Kawasaki. Keith Farmer, Billy McConnell and Joe Collier are all off the pace. And they are the leading three in this title. And Josh Elliott has just gone fourth. Andy Reid has broken both his wrists, we're hearing. So he won't be back for this season. Some are saying it may be his career.
He's jinxed.
But Josh Elliott, fourth in the championship, and he has finished no lower than second place at Silverstone in the rounds coming up, and he has won at the other three circuits. So I'm saying nothing, but he could be a weapon.
Do not jinx anything. Yeah, terrible shame again for Andy Reid to again suffer a season-ending injury, if that is definitely what it is. And,
or injuries, again, it's multiple, isn't it?
Yeah, he was on social media grinning and bearing it, I would say. And a fair play to him for, at least not hiding away. And he was posting pictures of himself being nursed back to health with his wrists and hands and stuff, and, needing help to drink out of a cup, for example, because... But terrible shame for the highly talented Andrew Reid, and so an OMG seem to have bagged themselves a
good rider,
pretty decent rider. Yeah, no disrespect to Ben Luxton, who Josh replaced, but some people now even suggesting that mathematically he could win the Stock 1000 Is that beyond? Are we just being ridiculous thinking that?
Do you know what? Normally with that, I don't know what a gap is. I think it's about 80 points. Now, with an 80-point gap and at least 4 races, I'm not sure if there's going to be a double header at one round. I think there will be at one, but 80 points or so, that is a hell of a gap. And it means that
maybe we're putting too much pressure on, just even suggesting that.
But we've seen this weekend. We've seen, in fact, I'll rephrase that. We've seen since Snetterton that no one wants to win. No one wants to take a hold of this British National Superstock 1000 Championship and just clear off with it. Vinnie McConnell was doing it, and then he messed it up. King Farmer is doing it, but again, poor round for Keith at Thruxton. You've got Joe Collier, poor showing at Thruxton and smashed himself to pieces at Brands Hatch in race 2. Andy Reid's out for the season. Chrissy Rouse has left the championship. And then it's Lee Jackson. Josh Elliott's come in there now.
You know,
there is Taylor McKenzie's in there. You know, it's quite an interesting prospect, because if that keeps happening and Josh keeps winning like he did at the end of 2015, he may well find himself in the most unlikely of positions going into that final round of the year at Brands Hatch. He may well be able to mathematically win it then. Realistically, though, it's a hell of an ask.
It is, yeah. Maybe we were just using a bit of, journalistic license in suggesting such a thing could happen. But I suppose if everybody keeps quitting, all he needs to do is just stay on the bloody bike, doesn't he?
Or really. Injuries. We've seen Andy Reid is injured. Jack Kennedy is injured.
It is.
Shaky Byrne got injured. That's 3 huge names that really are all champions, really, in their respective classes.
It just could, mathematically, as Kiko suggested, could just be a thing. And wouldn't that be an amazing feat for the new OMG?
We'd have to change the template colour to gold, I think.
They do have.
Oh, no, I think we've got one.
Anyway, moving on. This is the Superbike Show. It's Motorsport Radio. Hello and welcome if you are tuned in to us for the first time. If you are a long-time listener, and you'd be well used to us waffling on.
And you can't be a first-time caller. So just to get them all out there.
Anyway. Right, so, there's the little matter of the Czech Grand Prix in MotoGP to talk about. And, I predicted last week's show that, you were, I think you'd asked me what was going to happen. Was Marquez going to win? And I said, no, he's not actually going to win. He's going to do well. He's going to be on the podium, but he's not going to win. I was right.
Ah, dear me. It pains me to say it, but yes, Lester Forbes of Glossop, just outside Manchester, and the M6, yet again, lives in the house of predictions. Marc Marquez.
I should have put some money on that.
You should have done a motorsport radio predictions league, should you not? Marc Marquez extends his lead in the championship nonetheless anyway, despite what Leicester's been saying, to 49 points. But it was Ducati that dominated on race. I couldn't believe it. They've not won at Renault in 11 seasons now, 12 seasons or 12 years since the last Italian winner on an Italian bike in the Czech Republic. That was Loris Capirossi back in 2006, and Andrea Dovizioso decided that is enough of that. He took the win. Jorge Lorenzo was second. Ducati won 2. Now, those two aren't best of friends. More on that later on. But Marc Marquez was third. Valentino Rossi, fourth. And turning the corner for Yamaha, it seems to be an ongoing corner. It seems a bit like turn 1 at the Shanghai International Circuit, just goes on and on and on and on. But Valentino Rossi and Yamaha are starting to get there, at least on that side of the garage. Pedrosa faded yet again down the order, started off free practice very, very well, not quite there come race day. Suzuki were worryingly off the pace, haven't won at Renault since 1989. Andrea Iannone, the top place Suzuki, in 10th. Just to bring the Alvaro Bautista fan club back to life, he was 9th, that's his 5th top 10 on the bounce. Cal Crutchlow was 5th and back in the race for top independent team bike. He was ahead of Danilo Petrucci, ahead of Johann Zarco. talking of those two, Petrucci was consistent and Zarco a little bit revitalised, I think, come Brno. Good showing there, was in the leading group. But Maverick Vinales on another Yamaha, the Movistar Yamaha team. What a woeful end to a shambles of a weekend, really. Maverick Vinales qualified 12th and paid the price. Wiped out by a wild card. Stefan Bradl putting wild into that phrase, taking out both Maverick Vinales and Bradley Smith just 3 corners into the race. So, yeah, I bet Yamaha are majorly thrilled about that. But I have no sympathy for Maverick Vinales. He shouldn't be qualifying down in 12th in the first place. He's a factory rider.
Oh.
Hard times at Aprilia, though, mind you. You could be Aprilia. You could have a crash for Scott Redding, who I don't know what he's doing. And Alicia Spargo, just 15th. Thomas Luthi, though. Yeah, true. Tom Luthi, quick mention, just 3.5 seconds off his first points of the season. That's not bad. He's getting there. It's a little bit more of a distance stat. He was 3.5 seconds off his first points in 16th in the MotoGP race. Wait for the stat for the Moto3s.
Next round is the Ostrich Ring. It
used to be called the Osterreich Ring, actually.
I know what it used to be called. But, it's...
And built on a very bumpy Zeltweg airfield.
No, they're not bumps, they're hills.
Oh, excuse me, they're the Alps. Pardon me.
The bumps are alive with the sound of music.
Oh, dear me. I'm going to say it. The as you'll see on the website, the name of the MotoGP preview is Spielberg, another thriller in prospect, because it's in the region of Spielberg, just in case those of you who don't know the Austrian geography, because Les talks about topography. But nonetheless, it's going to be a great weekend.
The Nerd Shop phoned. Anyway.
They said, what's your number?
Yeah, anyway. Right, so MotoGP, it's too late, really, for Dovizioso to do anything in the championship, isn't it? It's over for him now. Go home.
Well, that's a bit harsh, but... He's still got a say in it. And do you know what? 68 points. It's a long way back. But he won at Austria last year. If Marquez crashes and Dovi wins, the gap's down to 43 points. Now, that's more likely to be done. Then we go to Silverstone. Marquez retired out of that race last year. Dovi won there. So if that happens, the gap comes down to 18. And then you have a championship on your hands. Misano, Dovi podium last year. Aragon, Marquez win. Motegi, we had a Dovi win. In Malaysia, we had a Dovi win. We had a disaster for him in Phillip Island. Marquez won. We've got Thailand, which is an unknown quantity. That's in between Aragon and Motegi. And then Valencia, of course, it might all come down to that. I don't think he's going to be in with a shout. He may be in with a shout for the top 3. He's in 4th place in the moment. He's in 4th place at the moment in the championship. I'll get my words out in a minute. I want to put my dentures in the right way around. But Dovi, I'd go as far as saying a bit far back.
I've just done a quick calculation. The gap between Dovizioso and Cal Crutchlow from 3rd to 8th in the standings at the moment is almost the same gap as Dovizioso to Rossi in 2nd. So there's many more people who are right close behind him in the championship right now. He could get swallowed up.
But if you look at the gap between 1st and 2nd, Marquez and Rossi in that order, and then Rossi back to Cal, as you say, that shows that highlights a point that I was on about. There is no one consistently finishing 2nd. Marc Marquez seems to be able to get that podium and get multiple wins, but no one else can. No one else can consistently win. No one else can consistently get to the podium. And this is where that big lead at the top's come from. He's nearly got 50-point lead. At this rate, he could wrap it up with 3 rounds to go.
Nah.
Well, we'll see.
We will see, indeed. Yes.
We'll see that I'm right and you're wrong, as per.
Right, said Kiko, and was never correct again. But yeah, if you have alternative thoughts, i.e. facts, and you'd like to relay them to us and let us know how Kiko is very wrong, then you can do so. It's at M Sport Radio on the old Twitter. It's Motorsport Radio on Facebook. Or you can leave your comments in comments box below. Duck. So, and incidentally, regarding, just want to, before we move on to Moto 2 and 3, regarding some of the published things on Facebook that Kiko was asking, that we were asking for your comments on earlier this week, I think on Wednesday, regarding the Mexican potential circuit, the Rodriguez banana thing. We had some comments, didn't we?
We did, and I'm just checking them out, strangely enough. So, we've had a couple of British Supersport team owners getting in a bit of a handbags at dawn episode.
Hi, Steve.
I like it. No, Stock 1000, Stuart.
Oh, Stuart, hello.
Everard. Hello, good evening to you. So let's just have a little scroll down. So we've had a few comments so far. Thomas Kessel says, yes, please. Suggests that, saying, yes, bring your motorcycle racing to Mexico. Tim Whiting says, better than the circuits they currently use. Soulless. Not sure on that. Eric Garcia says, most changes need to be done. It's not a MotoGP circuit yet. I agree with that. Stuart Everard, if it's safe enough for F1, it's safe enough for MotoGP. Now, that's going to be an interesting conversation when I we talked to Julian Ryder later on. Dave Tyson has replied with a laughing face to that. Dave Tyson, obviously the owner of the MV Augusta team, so we've got a rivalry going on here. He put nothing like the same safety regs. Jack Mitchell put MotoGP needs gravel traps, modern F1 circuits. This one does not have any. Paul Bannister, father of Josh Bannister in the Coolfab Racing British Minibike Championship, says there isn't enough runoff anyway. It makes Darlymore look like Silverstone. Love that comment.
Although, going back to the gravel trap thing, isn't it the opposite with MotoGP, though? A lot of circuits need to remove gravel traps and grassed areas.
For MotoGP?
Well, yeah, like, for example...
No, they need to be put back in. Excuse me as I whack my microphone.
But there's a definite trend of circuits removing their grassed runoff areas and gravel.
They put a little strip around as a runoff, but they do Brazilian. Have... What's one of them, Lester?
Of a runoff area. Because I remember the outrage when Monza did it in their last corner, which I forgot the name of. Is it the Parabolica?
The Parabolica.
Yeah. I remember when they removed that and they said, well, nothing to do with us guys. It's just blame the bikes or something. It's just whatever, bikes.
No,
they need to...
No, because at the end of the day, gravel, as anyone knows who's been tumbling through a gravel trap, it breaks your fall in a way. It slows you down.
It could also break your arms.
It breaks your arms, but it keeps you alive. More importantly, most of the time.
But there is something to be said about a long concrete runoff, whereas instead of like hitting something which could make you roll and flail.
What good is a tarmac runoff when you've already crashed? It's not going to slow you down.
Well, if you go down, you just coast to a stop instead of go down and then end up getting flipped around.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't coast to a stop. The only time you stop is when you meet the barrier on the other side. Now...
I mean, that infield, that little tight, twisty section, that's always going to be tight and twisty and very slow. And that is all concrete anyway.
That's not a good thing. There needs to be gravel there.
Well, I don't...
It doesn't all have to be gravel, but there needs to be gravel somewhere. There needs to be gravel before they get to the tyre wall or whatever. What do they have now? Erectocell air fencing or whatever.
I don't know. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, let us know. This is an apt time to be talking about this, really, because we've just had the birthday, or what would have been the birthday, of Louis Salom. Now, when he was killed in his free practice accident, this was what was discussed, really, safety, F1 safety versus MotoGP safety. Neither's wrong. It's just there are demands.
I suppose it all depends on the type of crash that you're more likely to have in that type of corner.
In the corner, exactly right, Lester. It all depends on the corner. Is it a fast corner you're entrance into? So, say I'm trying to think of a British thing. There's not really a corner at Silverstone that poses too much risk anymore with concrete runoff or tarmac runoff. But if you was to say Mugello, end of the straight Mugello, abolish that gravel trap. I'm fairly sure that race would go ahead.
Who was it who had the really scary... when he, for a time, he scared a lot of people before we knew he was okay, thankfully, or relatively okay. that was an incident, in my mind anyway, that would have looked better, and maybe it might have made him less injured if it was different.
No, I think it would have been worse, because you've got to appreciate Mugello.
He got thrown around like a little rag doll, though, didn't he?
But he was knocked out, but that was because he landed on the tarmac. He then bounced, but because he was all relaxed and out of it, he didn't break anything. I think he dislocated his shoulder. But the problem is, when you've got Mugello, that's quite a deep gravel trap. You have to be going quite a pace to reach the barriers with that gravel trap. However, strip that gravel trap away, and straight away you've got that risk of, wow, I'm not stopping here, and there's only a air fencing in the way. That, to me, is a very worrying prospect.
What's wrong with just putting more air fencing in?
Well, you may as well have straw bales then.
Some circuits do.
See, but them circuits will not be able to hold an FIM-supported meeting anymore, because I have the rules and regulations in one of my drawers here.
All right, we don't need to go into your rules and regulations.
No, not one of my drawers I'm wearing. The drawers my pull-out.
Wouldn't surprise me anyway.
Funny. I have the rules and regulations, and as of 2017, straw bales are not allowed to be used as safety. They break everyone's fall, but they can also do a lot of damage. But again, I'm of the opinion that if it stops you reaching a barrier, the bike can reach a barrier. That can happen at any time. But if it stops the rider meeting a barrier, that's
I suppose it's one of the. I'm no safety expert, obviously. But I suppose it's weighing up that risk of what type of crash and what type of corner is it. How likely are you to crash? How likely a speed are you to be going if you're on a bike? And I suppose maybe you can do as many computer simulations as you want. The only real way to find out is unfortunately just by finding out who got injured so many times in that, when it was a gravel versus when it was, because some circuits, I think certainly on the F1 calendar anyway, are actually just starting to reintroduce gravel and grass areas. I forgot which tracks it was, but I noticed there are definitely some. It's just
the problem is that gravel runoff was only introduced not even on safety. It was so the teams didn't have a car that was wrote off or swallowing a whole beach when it got back to the thing. Now, I'm sorry, but them F1 teams have got money, unless you're Force India. But most of them have got money, and they can afford to take all that out. When did money overtake safety? It's the only thing overtaking anything in Formula One at the moment. But
yeah, all right. A lot of people do like Formula One. You shouldn't slag people off who like Formula One. A lot of people listening do like it.
They haven't seen the Specsavers advert because they can't see the telly.
All right.
Anyway,
moving on.
Digressed. Moto 2 was a brilliant weekend. Miguel Oliveira won a head-to-head battle with Luca Marini. Francesco Bagnaia was third, Baldassarri fourth, but that does mean that Miguel Oliveira is now your series leader. Xavi Vierge completed the top five. The Saxon Ring winner, Brad Binder, was sixth. Britain's Sam Lowe's, 22nd on the grid, finished ninth. Fabio Quartararo, 11th place. I have to question, why do you want to take him into MotoGP? Alex Marquez, younger brother to illustrious Mark, can kiss goodbye to another championship, another mistake, making way too many of him, crashed out the Czech Grand Prix. Unforced error, we should say as well. So Alex Marquez...
He's like the Ralph Schumacher, isn't he?
I think that's him done now for the year. And he's staying another year in Moto2 when he'll get beaten again.
Hard to disagree with that, but...
Thank you. One of my rants has actually made sense for a change.
Yes, I suppose if you have that many, at least some of them are going to... transfer. But yeah, championship standings in Moto2. Miguel Oliveira leading on 166 points. Bagnaia on 164, just 2 points in it at the moment. And third place, it is he might as well just pack up and go home. Kiko's wrote him off. You've had it, son. It's Alex Marquez on 113 points. And then it's Baldassarri on 106. Brad Binder. And then Joan Mir and I'm just trying to have a look. Sam Lowe's in 12th place on 46 points. And who else are we usually looking out for?
Danny Kent. Where's he?
Oh, God.
Get your binoculars out for that one, I think.
Well, let's not talk about points and stuff. Let's not judge.
No, I mean, Danny, the thing is, it's all right being on the second part of the page. It's all right when you have to flick over. The worst moment is when you go to flick over to the second part of the page, but you can't find the remote. That's the awkward bit.
He's in 25th at the moment. And but still, that's 24 places to make up. It's
look at it like that.
You've got to, anyway.
They won't make him up throwing bikes at fences, though, will he? Moto 3, anyway, talking to throwing bikes at fences. Auburn's John McPhee did just that after colliding with someone in the last chicane. It wasn't his fault. Check out his Instagram. You'll see. Jakob Cornfall started on pole and finished third. But it was Fabio Di Gianantonio, the moral winner from Le Mans, who finally took his first win, and I'm mega happy with that. I said a statistic last time on the show, 5 Italians in the lightweight class have won their first race ever at Renault. Valentino Rossi, Nico Antonelli, Gilberto Parlotti, Italo Bucciaridi and Alessandro Gramini make it 6th because Fabio Di Gianantonio has done just that. John McPhee was good until he crashed out at the end, touched Marcos Ramirez, actually ripped the wheel, the tyre off the wheel, and that's what caused him to crash when he flicked it from left to right. Aaron Canet back in second, still without a win though. He is getting close to the top of the championship. They have really magnified now. The top 3 or 4 are really getting close. And he has to capitalise whilst Jorge Martin is out injured. The Red Bull Ring Moto3 is going to be a thriller. Enea Bastianini came from nowhere and finished 4th. Don't know where that came from. Marco Bezzecchi has took the title lead back. It's like a pendulum at the moment, swinging from KTM back to Honda, Italy back to Spain, Bezzecchi back to Martin. 6th place from 14th on the grid. Top ride from the youngster, I've got to say. Gabriel Rodrigo for Argentina was 5th. And whilst we run about minority nations, Nakarin Atarat. Now, remember when I told you about that statistic earlier? Tom Luthi was 3.6 seconds off his first points of the year. Nakarin Atarat was 3.6 seconds off his first win of his career, and he was 16th place. So 3.6 seconds away from a win. 0.2 seconds a lap quicker, and he would have been a winner. That is incredible. That just shows you how good Moto3 is at the moment. Try finding a fifth of a second, Nakarin, every lap, and you'll be a winner, promise.
You just like saying his name, don't you?
No. Okay, what's his name? Can you say?
Phil.
No.
Phil.
What's his surname? Collins?
Yeah. Let's call him that for now. He's a mate of mine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Talking about John McPhee, there was a bit of a rumour. If you want to... Do you know about this?
Yeah, he's... Oh, God, I've just been attacked by flies. Sorry, I thought I shut my windows earlier. Must have been one from the light or something. But anyway, John McPhee, rumoured to be going off to the SIC team, the Sepang International Circuit team in Moto3. They run Hondas at the moment. He did have some offers in Moto2, interestingly enough. But, Scotland's John McPhee. We've got to call him Scottish because he didn't do very well at the weekend. Otherwise, he would have been British. But Scotland's John McPhee looks like he'll be staying in Moto3.
That's the... It was... I suppose it was a website that's reporting it to be the case that he's tipped to join. Nothing announced as yet. So it is just a rumour, really. And McPhee in the standings, anyway, Moto3. Where is he at the moment? Down in... No, well, let's not worry about standings and points and all that.
No. Why do we do that?
He's right in there, though. He's old John McPhee. We like Britain's John McPhee, unless he's Scottish. 15th at the moment in the Moto3 standings right now. Bezzecchi on 133 points. Martin on 130 and Fabio Di Gianantonio.
Dijan.
Yeah. Him. Yeah. 116 points. Aaron Canet.
Can it, mate?
Canet. No, I can't. He's fourth on 112. Bastianini fifth, Cornfile sixth, Rodrigo in seventh, and Ramirez and all them lot. Moto 3 then. So should he have already moved up to Moto 2 already, McPhee?
He's been there long enough, hasn't he? My inkling would be yes, he should have. But he hasn't, and we can only celebrate his successes in the lightweight class. So podium last time out, he's crashed out of some pretty good positions of late, so promising pace for wee McPhee.
Going back to the Luca Marini earlier.
Oh, yes.
You mentioned in I think Moto 2. There was some comment, I think, regarding him, which I've completely forgot. I know. But do you think, Kiko, maybe he's come good now? Is it time for him? Is it his time?
It is. I honestly think that he's gone into his half-brother's team, Valentino Rossi's own team. And he's going to sound a bit cliche, but he feels at home. He just knows everyone around him. He trains with the people around him. I genuinely think he's in a really good position at the moment. So Luca Marini, without question, will win a race by the end of this season. I have no question about that.
Yeah, and Marini, like Kiko said, is half-brother.
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 Just in case for the visual radio stream viewers here.
Visual radio.
That is Valentino Rossi on the bottom. Luca Marini is on top. And
thanks for pointing that out.
And I think that is the mother of both. I wouldn't assume that as... I don't know. Maybe it's a PR woman. She's holding something in her hand.
I think you should stop talking.
She's got a lanyard on anyway, so she's obviously something.
Yeah, she's got a lanyard. She's right. She's all right. She's got a lanyard. Don't worry about that. She's definitely not the mother of half the paddock. Don't worry.
But Valentino Rossi there with Luca Marini. That photo was taken back in 2005. That was when Valentino Rossi won the championship, I think, in Sepang that year.
Oh, yeah.
But they have both changed just a little bit in recent years. Here they are again. The rag and bone man on the left and wide-eyed Luca Marini, or as Lester called him off air earlier, fish face on the right. Right. So, yeah, they have absolutely changed. And it's a wonderful story. Yeah. It really is a fantastic story.
Thanks for that, Dick. Anyway, the old Rossi and Marini there, and
old Rossi and new Rossi. We can't really say that because they've got different dads, but obviously their mother's quick.
I feel like we need to move on very rapidly.
Is it time to get to the next Grand Prix discussion? Yeah.
Gordon Bennett, it is as well.
Is that the time?
Anyway, just before we head on to there, Julian Ryder should be on the show very, 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 very shortly. So stay
Would you
tuned.
like to say that a little louder? I don't think they quite heard you in the continent.
What? I'm just summoning him over. But yeah, Julian Ryder here on the show, answering as many as questions as Kiko can throw at him before we run out of phone credit, or he has to go. The last interview lasted an amazing 7 hours. Unbelievable. Julian Ryder, we had to cut it down for obvious. Because we all fell asleep in the end. So, yeah, Julian Ryder here on the show.
No, Julian, you're not boring. That's just me.
And so stay tuned for that. This is the Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio. I'm Lester. Kiko is here. And we are welcoming your comments this evening on the Thursday as we look ahead to this weekend's 6th round in the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, live and exclusive radio coverage all weekend. Find out who is going to be the next BSB star as the championship, which is on the road to MotoGP, rolls into Glanagors in northwest east, over there in Wales anyway. And maybe some of them might even win a motorsport award one day. Indeed. So, yes.
Interesting.
Mexican Grand Prix. We've got a discussion. What are we discussing?
Even more about it. Well, first of all, it is a good idea that we are going to a new market. If this is true. In Mexico, we haven't had a Mexican Grand Prix before for motorcycles, only for cars, but no one cares about them. They're irrelevant. It's a good new market to expose. We are going to the South American market. Argentina obviously making a welcome return to Canada. Brazil coming back maybe in 3 years for the first time in what will be 17 years since it was last on back in 2004 at Chacopagua. They demolished that circuit for the Olympics. Sure. But the Mexican Grand Prix, we've never had one in Mexico. We've obviously got a brilliant facility in Cota in Texas, which is where all Mexicans end up going. But we haven't had one in our homeland. And I must say, that shocked me. I thought, there must have been. We've had Venezuelan Grand Prix, and we wouldn't have one there now. Look at the state of the country. But we haven't had one in Mexico. But we will do next year. The only problem for me is that it will be at this place, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit used by Formula One cars. Now, just for the visual radio stream viewers, there is the map of the circuit right there for you. If you've not got us on visual radio, well, you're out of date.
Kiko's going to describe a lap.
But not only are you out of date and probably incompetent with that, but
thanks,
you can
loyal
find
listeners.
us on
Kiko
Facebook.
Jesus.
We've got Facebook and Twitter, both of which have this wonderful Formula One circuit on display on our timelines. But of course, you can use that well-known thing called Google and find it yourself as well. But this is the lap. It's quite a long front straight into a really tight sequence of what I would say 3 first corners, because the first one literally decides how good you are through turns 2 and 3. Subsequently decides you run down one of 2 back straights into another chicane. Then it's a double apex right after that. Turn, well, what are we at there? 4, 5, 6 and 7. Depends how many apexes you class as a corner. Up a short straight, into a fast left with no runoff, into a right with no runoff, into another left with very little runoff, into a right with very little runoff, into a left, double left apex with no runoff. Then into the dodgiest corner on this track for me, as far as the motorcycle is concerned. A right-hand that leads you into a wonderful stadium section. Hairpin out of there, short burst, through out of the long right-hander, back down the straight. For those of you that remember this circuit in its old days, instead of going right round the long right-hander that ended the lap down the front straight, they just cut in now. Watch the Formula One lap. They're all on YouTube and various other video sharing social media platforms. That is worrying for me, that we're going there as a Mexican Grand Prix. There is also rumours of another one going on, another Grand Prix at the UAE, the United Arab Emirates.
Another Mexican Grand Prix in the UAE?
No. There's actually a funny comment about that. We're going to talk to it. Thank you for the lovely Paul Rennie who sent that in for us. I'm laughing my head off at that. But the UAE, they're on about having a city centre race. Now, the UAE, we assume, is going to be Abu Dhabi and Dubai, because they're the only ones that are competent of the 7 Emirates. How do we have a city centre Grand Prix? Is it going to be like that? Are they going to actually build one in the centre itself? I mean, Mexico City's a vast...
Well, that's what a city centre is.
But this is, to me, back to the Mexican Grand Prix, this is a little bit dodgy for me. It's on dodgy ground. The circuit seems a bit dangerous. Doesn't seem like we're going to have a motorcycle race on its current format, current layout. We are going to have to see modifications.
What specifically is dangerous about it?
There is no gravel. There is no gravel runoff. The turn into the arena section at the end, the stadium section, there's no runoff on the first right into that.
Well, there is.
If you lose the front of the apex, you're going to spear off into the wall.
Not really.
Yes,
no,
really.
because that actually in the right hand kink that takes you into the stadium section, yes. That is just literally, you can literally go in theory all the way right round the Nigel Mansell turn, which I think it's called now, and go back onto and lead you back onto the start finish straight.
Yeah, I know.
It could just all be one massive big long runoff. No,
that's only if you lose the front end of the bike or crash on entrance to the corner. If you crashed when you've made the apex or you're coming onto the throttle, you are going to have no runoff whatsoever. That is a very dodgy area for me. I personally wouldn't have bikes around there at all.
I'm not sure you've studied that particular area in great detail.
I'm not sure you're appreciating that bikes can crash at various
just like your microphone
locations. Just my microphone decides the high side. If we
I get what the dangers are, but based on one aerial image that you've found, I don't think that you can judge whether a circuit is safe, having not actually been there. And
have you been there?
Well, I've not.
Right, there's a reason why Formula One took so long to go back there, and that's because their old layout wasn't safe. And this circuit is
and they
made
didn't have
for
any money
Formula
at the
1.
time.
And also they're Mexican, so they've got no money because their governments are all corrupt anyway. But, I mean, I'm looking at this right now, Lester, on the old Google Images. Other sources are available. We're not the BBC, but we do like fair advertising. That, I imagine that the apex is going to be right in the middle of the corner, so they're going to drop out. If they lose the front at the apex, they've got a grandstand. You can't move that.
Well, don't lose the front in the apex.
Oh, right. So now we're going to regulate racing, are we? We're going to regulate how much someone pushes.
Well, yeah, it's called curbs and turns and stuff. That generally regulates people's speed. Because if you just take too much speed into a corner, you're going to crash.
It's not just that either. It's not just turn. Well, I don't know what
you could do instead of that little small sort of like right hand almost bend, you could make it into a much sharper right hander, forcing riders to slow down to make that corner.
Or how about we take the trees out in the middle of all of that?
Yeah, that's just chicane. I tell you what, let's just rip out all of Mexico City just so that we can, just go.
No, I'm on about
out.
a small, not the park in the middle where Greenpeace would cry over if we started deforestating or whatever the word is, but the block of trees in like towards the end of the circuit, opposite from the football pitch at the top. To me, put chicaning through there and just fire it right across the circuit and out into the last corner.
No,
it's the only way that's going to work.
I think whatever the officials end up doing will be the right decision.
I'm sure of that as well, because Dorna wouldn't go anywhere if they thought it was going to be unsafe.
And obviously they've checked it out a lot more than we have on Google Maps.
But I've got to be honest, that's going to be a lot of work. I think
if they had any reservations whatsoever, they just wouldn't go. It's
True.
Not worth it, is it?
But Valentino Rossi voiced his concern about it.
Yeah, but maybe that was based on previous history.
The current one as well. I can see where he's coming from, but I just don't know. I don't think that is quite ready yet. I'm not sure. Maybe another talking point would be that second chicane, turn 4 and 5, but there is a small hairpin there. So maybe they just don't go that far and launch it back up.
It looks like there is. I mean, I can't remember it from F1. I don't have the ability to memorise gravel traps in circuits all over the world anymore like I used to be able to.
All right.
But I don't know if they do have gravel there or if they do, whatever. Do you know what? I just believe that Dorna will not make anybody unsafe. Unlike some other tracks where, circuits have like literally gone up against walls and this season, and they're on the calendar for legacy reasons because they're classic tracks.
What circuits are we referring to there?
Might be one in Italy, maybe.
Are we on about Mugello?
I'm not naming any names. I'm just saying that there are dangers wherever you go. Some more than others. Some are more acceptable because the
likelihood of a serious incident on that section of circuit's unlikely.
So you just ultimately, as we mentioned earlier, in that little gravel trap versus asphalt
tarmac runoff,
discussion. Suppose you'll really only find out in hindsight. Usually after someone's had a big incident.
Just one thing I would like to say, totally aside safety, this is going to be a spectacular Grand Prix. The Mexican Formula 1 Grand Prix is a carnival. It is incredible.
You just said you don't want to go.
I never said I want to go. I'd just rather it not be here.
Well, where would you like it?
Oh, just build a circuit.
Yeah, just because they've got plenty of loads of like open space in downtown Mexico, haven't they?
They do said it has to be Mexico City.
Yeah, let's build it in the mountains.
If you'd like,
where all the fans live.
Yeah, why not? They're only going to get thrown out for some other ridiculous reason, like a railway or something.
God. Hi, by the way, from all our South American.
Ah, yes. Hola.
Oh God.
Senor.
We do have a lot of followers in
we do have a lot of Brazilian followers.
Yeah. Brazilian, some Mexicans, and hello anyway. And we think that your race will be absolutely fantastic wherever it is.
I honestly think if they do go there and they get the circuit bob on right, we have nothing to worry about. That circuit is going to be so fast. Look at the size of the straight. Down to turn 1.
Yeah,
the S
probably a bit too dangerous. That
it exceeds 5 miles an hour. Funny you are. But either way, I think it's going to be. I reckon I know why it's going to be fast, because it's in Mexico. Okay, they don't do food very well. The Mexicans
don't.
They don't build great cars. Their Formula One drivers aren't amazing, but their currency is called the peso. That's why it's going to be fast. Got good pace. Oh. Of course, all of this, of which we'll talk more very, very shortly with Julian Ryder. I know he's eager to have his opinion on all of this. So
far, we've just narrowly managed to avoid any reference to Speedy Gonzalez. We already did it. Ask your parents, Kiko.
It will not be Speedy Rodriguez.
Anyway, we will be right next having a chat with Mr. Julian Ryder, who, Kiko informs me, was looking very different. I think the last time MotoGP attempted to do a race in Mexico, and it was
World Superbikes. He was almost right. Oh, I loved it.
I wasn't even born back when was it? 1903?
No, it's 1993. Are you trying to say Julian Ryder was old in 1903?
Everyone was old way back when now, since you know what I mean.
Anyway. It's all right. You just dig that big hole.
Go onto YouTube and Google it. And Google it onto YouTube.
Looks a lot younger as well.
Yes, didn't recognise him at all whatsoever. I almost crashed the van when I seen it.
Is that before or after I started ramming black pudding in your face?
And either
way, Julian Ryder is esteemed MotoGP journalist of years gone by, now focusing on endurance. Julian, hello, good evening. Welcome to the show once more, of course.
Thank you, Kiko. Actually, I'm focusing on anything anybody will pay me for, but that's beside the point.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but I'm glad you said that. Keeps me out of trouble.
Let's be honest.
Keeps me out of trouble, of course. Mate, let's start off by that. Obviously, we're going to talk about all things MotoGP, British Superbikes. You've been doing a little bit of that as well, and Suzuka. Yep. We'll come to that. But how's it been away from the MotoGP paddock? Have you missed it at all in any aspect?
Frankly, no.
Okay.
I had a bit of a twitch when I saw the first pictures on social media of people getting on aeroplanes to go to Qatar. But as soon as I remembered what a living hell Manchester Airport was, I was over it.
That's true.
No, I just, like I said, when I packed up, I feel very much as if I've done my time, and I'm happy with that.
Of course, you have not stepped away at all from broadcasting. Very important to stress that you're far from retired. You have been doing things in British Superbikes. What have those things been lately? Writing? Have they been a bit of commentary for Eurosport as well?
Yes, there's been, as you said, I've done 3 8-hour races that ended the championship in World Endurance, all of which were actually fascinating. I have a predilection for endurance anyway, and this it's higher profile again now, and the 8-hour was just magnificent as an event as well as the racing. I did Snetterton DSB for Eurosport as a sort of temporary substitute, and it is very easy to forget what an excellent championship on all fronts BSB is. Affordable and accessible to the punter, grids full of quality teams and racers, and just great racing. Really, really, well-sorted championship.
All the way from top to bottom, of course, as you say, all the classes. I can't remember a time in my lifetime, maybe not even back in the 90s and 80s, when every class is so rammed packed solid. There's a stepping stone, and it's such a good championship to watch and be a part of.
Oh, God, yeah, no, it's never been as good as it is now. Right from the new Supersport 300 class, or Junior Supersport, I think we call it, don't we?
Yeah.
In BSV, right from there up to the Superbike boys. You know, where there's a sniff of work stuff. You know, the Suzuki boys get new maps from the factory. There's a very Italian gent from Bologna lurking in the Paul Bird pit. You know, it is without question and without doubt the best domestic championship in the world by a distance.
I want to. Well, we've spoke about World Superbikes before. I don't want to make this conversation entirely World Superbikes, but is British Superbikes a step down from World Superbikes, or is it more a step across now from World Superbikes?
I'd say it's a step across.
Okay.
There is no comparison to the paddocks. World Superbike, you know how many hospitality suites? How many of anything glam or big time or world championship? You go to a BSB paddock, it is rammed with quality teams and good sponsors. And you look up the sharp end of the grid, and the word factory keeps coming to mind.
Yeah. Very, it is very good as an image, but that's where British Superbike, for me, excels as well. So in terms of in comparison to World Superbike, it says it can perform on track as well. Like, there is that variety at the front.
Yeah. And I don't think, certainly not off track in the paddock. I don't think World Supers really looks anything, frankly, as a paddock. And we know the grandstands are never full. Yes, you've got Johnny Ray, who is palpably the best superbike rider in the world, being chased by a couple of very, very good guys as well, like Chaz and like Eugene. But, yeah.
Yeah. But when it comes to on-track matters, there is far more action at the sharp end in a BSB race or British Superbike support class than there is at World Superbikes, which is a weird dynamic for me.
Yes, it is. But, I mean, let's not get carried away. If Johnny Ray was in BSB, he'd probably run away 9 times out of 10 as well. Let's not lose sight of that fact. But the trouble with World Superbike is I keep on thinking of the old Irish joke, how do I get to Connemara? Well, I wouldn't start from here. And that's the way World Superbike feels. And if the factories or whoever insist on keeping the rules still favouring factories with the electronics and what have you, then they've got problems.
They have, because as we've said before, World Superbikes was founded on more privateer aspect of racing. It wasn't about the big factories. Only really Ducati bothered about that aspect of it back in the 90s. A little bit of Honda as well, maybe.
The Italians, Bimotor and Ducati, yes. But,
yes.
In the early days. And as usual, Kawasaki was the first Japanese factory to come across, because they're not part, as we've discussed before, Kiko, they're not part of the club as far as the Japanese industry is concerned. No. They're a core of a shed in a giant shipbuilding company, who have to knock out a few motorbikes. They're not a motorcycle company and don't feel in that Japanese way that they have to conform to the unspoken rules of the club.
Exactly, because they're not really members of the club. But I'm glad we've kind of come on to World Superbikes, because the 90s was a brilliant period for World Superbikes, and we was going to exotic locations around the world. And one of those exotic locations was Mexico. But back in 1993, that was. Now, that round never went ahead. And with the announcement that that the country is a candidate for a MotoGP event next year, coming to take place at the start of the year, at the same circuit, which obviously had all these problems 25 years ago. Now, I know it's not the same circuit and we're not in the same industry of health and safety and regulation regs and all that kind of carry on, but this is what I really want to get to you now. Is this circuit ready for MotoGP?
Well, the organisation thing is a bit of a red herring, as we know.
Yes.
Because that circuit's run Formula One Grand Prix for decades. It ran non-championship Superbike races. That 1993 event you talked about was caused by a sort of a political clash between the organisers of the Superbikes and I think a Madonna concert that was being promoted on the track the next week or something. So there was some infighting. Should we put it that way?
Yes, the fallout.
Yes. Some people rubbed each other up the wrong way and didn't take any notice of what the other person was doing.
Yes.
And it was a spectacular, mess up, and as you say, never happened. Is the circuit ready? Well, all I know is the onboard stuff I've seen. F1, and there is no way that circuit is safe in any shape or form for bikes as we know it.
Yes, and I'm glad you say as we know it. Dorna have, over the years, they dealt with Catalunya quite well. They've decided to push back some barriers and take a different route around the parts of the circuit. But this...
Laguna as well.
Laguna as well. They've modified Laguna, yep.
We went there and said, OK, we're going there, we know, but it's important to do this, we know. And the second year we went, the most obviously dangerous bits have been repaired.
And it's important to stress that this is not a facility issue. I mean, this is a circuit in the city of Mexico City. It has great facilities. It quite comfortably hosts Formula One circuits, but it's the demands of the circuit and safety of the MotoGP bikes that's going to need to be addressed. And to me, that seems like there's going to have to be huge amounts of overhauling and pushing barriers back and changing grandstands and gravel runoffs here and everywhere. And they've only got 8 months to do it. That's the more worrying thing for me. Time is everything at this moment.
I agree with you. And it looks, doesn't it, when you see the onboards and you see the car race, you should go, not a hope in hell. But that's down to the circuit. It's the circuit's not Dorna's problem. Of course, it is Dorna's problem, but, bottom line, it's up to the circuit to get itself in a state where it's homologated.
And we're not saying that Mexico shouldn't have a Grand Prix either. We should just stress that point. Mexico is a developing nation, and it is quite comfortably holding Formula One races. And I'm pretty sure if there was another circuit we could go to in Mexico, it'd be a brilliant atmosphere there as well. It'd be really well run. Really well run.
Yeah, I mean, Formula One in Mexico has got a great history and tradition, not least the Rodriguez brothers, who the circuit is named after.
Yes.
And others. And the idea of back-to-backing it with Texas, because Texas needs another race back-to-back with it to make sense of the costs of logistics to get there. It halves the notional costs to COTA. And that is really quite important to keep a race in the USA. And if you can do that, then Mexico makes so much sense.
And it's also a good round, I suppose, in terms of it is a new market. And that is something that Dorna might be criticised a little bit over for the last few years. Haven't been expanding to new markets. Thailand's the first new one to come along for a few years. Obviously, Istanbul and Turkey came along, but they haven't lasted. Qatar's lasted relatively well. But this is one of the new... There seems to be a lot of development going on in the world.
I don't think Qatar's a market.
No. Qatar is... we'll stay away from Qatar for now.
That's always a good idea.
We've got Indonesia maybe coming along. Brazil was announced early in the year. Kazakhstan's always somewhere there around. Finland's coming on maybe. There seems to be a lot of new countries coming in and wanting to get back involved with MotoGP or becoming
like Wales.
Yeah, Wales, maybe.
Fine. The reason that Mexico bears looking at is because there's actually, as you said earlier, a fully functioning international circuit there. So we're starting from a good place. when you're starting with a sheet of paper with a drawing on it, it's never quite so comfortable, is it?
No, at least we have a reassurance that A, the facilities are there and the circuit's there, and 2, it can be organised to quite a good standard at the moment for Formula One. Of course, maybe that might drop for the Mexican Grand Prix if it was to happen in MotoGP. But say we are going to have 4 flyaways at the start of next year. We go to Qatar, then Argentina, then we go to Mexico and then America. If we wasn't to go to Mexico, Julian, where would you rather see MotoGP go as a flyaway? Would you rather there be the Brazilian round that's being talked about? Would there be one in like a second one in America? Maybe could we go to Indianapolis again? Would we ever do that? Would we go to South Africa? Kyle Army's just been done up. We've
got enough trouble hanging on to the one American one we've got. And that is something that you must hang on to an American round, really, So I like Mexico because it facilitates massive cost cutting for the American round. So you've got to have those 2 back to back, I would suggest. I don't think 3 in a row is a good idea because Argentina, as we've shown 2 years ago, a week to get stuff from Argentina to Texas is cutting it very, very fine. And a lot of people had a lot of problems.
Yes, they did.
And I don't think IRTA would wear that again.
It was also more Argentina. It wasn't just the getting to America that was the problem, or it was more the facilities that enabled them to get there. If it in that short space of time, you already know that Tomás de Rio Hondo is kind of out of the core periphery of Argentina. It's not in a main area, a bit like the new World Superbike one that's proposed quite controversially. But
exactly. And once you hit travel problems, getting out of Rio, then you've got a problem.
Yeah.
If you miss those Monday flights or Tuesday morning flights from Buenos Aires to America, you're in trouble. And that's what happened. There was coach journeys, people had to go. Cal Crutchlow went via Miami in coach class, which doesn't matter unless you're, a recovering athlete facing a Grand Prix, starting on the Thursday when you get there.
Yeah.
And it took him like 36 hours, and he arrived on Thursday night. No way teams, IRTA, they're not going to risk that again. They really aren't.
They're not. Maybe. I spoke to Bjorn Esman about this South African rider in the British Super Sport class, and this was last year, and he said that it feels a bit like the world goes in a kind of in a horizontal line right across, but it forgets Africa. So would it be worth maybe doing Qatar 2 weeks, like a weekend off Kyle Army? Now they've had that all redone, and then another 2 rounds fly away, but with a gap in between. Would it be worth maybe looking at the African?
I don't know. I don't know about Kyle Army. I have no idea what state the track's in. I have no idea how big the market is. I have no idea how much the manufacturers care.
That's another point as well.
And those are questions we need to answer before answering those questions. So logistically, it probably would fit quite nicely, wouldn't it?
Indeed.
But I don't see South Africa as on the to-do list of the big players.
It's not quite on the radar. And it's a shame because at the moment, Brad Binder doing the business for South Africa in the class. But again, if we did everything by logistics, then we wouldn't really have much of a problem. We just go to any old circuit and we'd probably race Mexico in its current state. But we don't.
We certainly wouldn't go to Rio de Termo Honda.
Yes, exactly, because that would be the opposite end of great logistics.
Yeah, but again, you see, there was a circuit, wasn't there? And there was a local government willing to pay. And yes, and the really interesting thing about the first Argentine Grand Prix of the current era was it felt like a Grand Prix for the whole of South America, not for Argentina.
Yeah.
You looked at the number plates, looked at the flags, and somebody once wrote, I forget who, somebody clever, that South America is one country divided into 13 parts.
Yes.
You know, there's no difference between a Venezuelan and a Chilean, effectively, when it comes to that sort of thing. Because and there was, except for football.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I think that'd be the same if you were in Manchester United, Manchester City. But of course,
exactly.
But like you say with that Argentine, it was Yoni Hernandez's home round, and he's not even from Argentina; he's from Colombia. So I think that emphasises the point there.
Absolutely, yeah. And he ran the Argentinian second year. He ran the Argentine colours on his helmet.
He did indeed. He did. I think that ended in flames though that time. I'm not sure. I don't want to swear.
I don't think it was a good one, but it was a lovely gesture.
It was a great gesture.
And told you quite a lot about the attitudes to the event in that part of the world.
Which makes it, and automatically makes it, a good kind of area to go in, a good venture for Dorna, because, I mean, if you look at the Mexican Formula One race, it's incredible. It's like an absolute carnival out there. You'd feel completely transformed. Doesn't feel like you're at a motor racing facility. It feels like you're at an absolute party, but just from sitting down and watching it. But another...
They've always had great drivers.
They still have as well. There's Mexicans in there, and that's another point. Does MotoGP suffer from that? Will Mexico be big?
Yes.
Or will MotoGP be big in Mexico? Because we haven't actually got any Mexican riders on the grid at the moment.
No, there's been a couple of Moto3 wildcard lads.
Yes.
But that's it. It doesn't help. It really doesn't help. It is. I mean, it's just, if you're my age, you just look back at the Carl Fogarty effect. When, nobody had heard of World Superbike, nobody gave a monkeys, until Carl Fogarty started getting on the television on this funny Italian motorcycle. Yeah. And World Supers, from that, went round the clock. And in this country, I'm talking about, particularly in the UK, and you cannot beat a hometown winner. I know very well what the TV ratings are for tennis most of the time. It's a popular sport. It gets a decent audience. Then you look at the ratings when Andy Murray gets near a semi-final. And they go through the roof. Do not ever underestimate the effect of a hometown winner.
It adds an atmosphere that is hard to describe until it happens. It's one of them kind of no words can say what it does. But another logistical point of view would be that, and this was a concern, I can't remember who it was, there was certain people notable people in the MotoGP paddock who wouldn't like the fact that it would be 18 or 19 races, or 18 or 19 would be the absolute most. At the moment, we're looking, if this one comes on for next year, if Mexico does happen, we're looking at 20. Then if Finland happens, possibly 21, depending if they drop around. But what one are they going to drop? That's the question. Is the amount of races going to be too much? Because it's not just, and you'll know this more than anyone, it's not just the teams that travel and the riders, it's the media guys, it's more money as far as media is concerned. It's they've got a source marshals in each country. There's a lot more than just the riders and the teams on at any point at the weekend.
Completely. I mean, this happened, I think, in Formula One when they went to that sort of numbers. There was very much in the team organisations worries about their staff and their family life and what it was doing. And people saying, "That's it, I'm resigning. I want to stay married." And that has to be taken into account. There is a certain number. I think Valentino Rossi has always said 18 is plenty. Personally, I've always thought 16 was plenty. But any more, once you get out the teams, you really are, I think, asking quite a lot of people.
Because I don't want to put words into your mouth, but travel was quite a big influence in your decision to step away. Am I right in thinking?
Oh yeah, but I'm old and I've been doing it for 25 years.
True, but it's still. I mean, for someone like me who's not got any commitments really, no family, no marriage,
exactly,
a bit more of a. I want a career. But, I would not doubt in anyone's mind that after doing that for so long, and who knows, maybe in 20 years we'll have 25 races a year or whatever. That is a lot of strain. That's half of the year and more spent travelling because, of course, a race weekend it's not Friday till Sunday. People get there on Wednesdays and Tuesdays, and the track facilities have got to be all there. It's an ongoing thing. It's a circus. It's a family life.
It is. It's a village that moves around with everything. It is a very difficult thing to quantify this. But as you say, somebody in their 20s, 30s, without really too many attachments in life, probably love it. But once you're a bit older and you've got a family and all the rest of it, and, some roots out somewhere, it becomes more difficult. Much more difficult. There's always a hardcore will do it.
The ones who really want to stay there for a long time. The next question, though, is suppose in the 90s we went to more European destinations now. We stayed in the 80s, we went to Brno, we went back there for the circuit there. We went to the Hungaroring in 1990. So we kind of introduced more European rounds, but the rounds that are coming along now, with the exception of Finland, are not European, and that's going to rise the cost up quite a lot in travel time. Is that another thing that Dorna has to worry about as far as money is concerned? Do they run the risk of maybe pricing teams like Avintia that we know are maybe not the wealthiest team in the paddock? Are they going to be priced out of the championship?
It's tricky. I mean, the reason for going to places like Thailand, places like Indonesia, is for the extra money you'll get from those markets. So, hopefully it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that, the new markets expand the markets. It's tricky. It's very tricky. Will every race we have at the moment stay if the calendar is expanded, or will, say, one of the Spanish rounds get the bullet to make room for one? There's always the worry about Sachsenring and Brno, which are permanently mired in political and financing issues. I won't say problems because it's real life, but these things have to be faced.
Also, with the, I suppose, against everything we're saying now, with the cost and whatnot, these are new markets. And, there's a reason why, I suppose, most of the world outside of developed countries is developing fast, is because they are a developing country. And in a way, we went to Hungary and the Czech Republic and country Yugoslavia. We went to what would now be Croatia with Rijeka back in the 80s and 90s. We went to countries that were still kind of coming along, and in a way we would be doing that again. Just it's a bit further afield to what we're used to. We would be going to Indonesia, a country that's developing.
It was different before Dorna, when if you were a country, your federation applied for a Grand Prix to the FIM. So countries who wanted to, like the then East Germany, probably to make political points as much as anything else, wanted a Grand Prix. And it wasn't purely commercial. Now it is. If you, as a country, can raise the wherewithal, you can have a Grand Prix if there's a gap in the calendar.
No matter where that is.
No matter where that is.
Because we've seen, I think, I'm going to be really sad now and remember this. I think I looked up a statistic, and it was the first Qatari Grand Prix, and the first Friday had 250 people paid to get in. Now, obviously, it's gone up a little bit since then. But
yes,
it's almost like the Qatar really, would it have happened anyway? Probably not. But the facilities are there. It's not in the most luxurious country as far as tourism is concerned and human rights is concerned. And that's another issue. There was much speculation when Formula One decided to go on to Azerbaijan, or Azerbaijan's human rights record. Is that something that Dawn is going to be mindful of? Is that maybe why they've been slower coming into new markets? They're conscious of political
No. I think we're probably doing Dawn one too many favours thinking that. I think they're a commercial organisation. They're owned by venture capitalists. I think they would. Yes, they'd have a look at it. They'd take a sideways look, but it wouldn't stymie anything, I don't think. It's, we went to China. Come on.
Turkey as well.
Because, no, Turkey, when we went, was pretty democratic. It isn't now.
Yes.
It was a bit different. China was a bit of a... Because I asked a deliberately provocative question in the pre-event press conference, the Testeril, the race before, and what we're going to do about Tibet then. Capirossi, who is from Imola, which, the last stronghold of Italian municipal communists, hammered the table. I'm glad you asked that. And went off on one. Absolutely fantastic. The PR man was saying, shut up, don't say it. Rossi was saying, I thought about a helmet, but maybe not. Yeah. Don't blame you, Valentino.
This, I suppose, like we're enjoying this kind of the joking aspect of it. And maybe that is something that people will look forward to. Valentino Rossi's been very public in saying he's not a fan of this Mexican Grand Prix proposal. It's too dangerous. Yeah. But that is in its current state, and he's right to say that. I take that kind of view. But who's to say it won't be good? Who's to say? Who are we to say? I mean, I was saying earlier on in the show, that Mexican Grand Prix circuit is going to be very, very fast. That is a spectacle on its own. It's going to be an amazing Grand Prix if it can be safe.
If it can be made safer than it is. I mean, let's face it, the A1 ring is not just scary, it's very, very scary in a couple of places. And Laguna Seca was ultra scary in a couple of places. We've seen people hitting the fences hard at Brno and Sachsenring in the last couple of races. It's a subject that we must be permanently on guard about. But it will mean somewhere along the line circuits have to be modified.
Even places like Mugello, because we've seen... I don't want to talk too much about the Michele Pirro accident. That is a freak accident, and I'd argue that Mugello, its safety then was good enough. But we are getting to them top speeds. Marc Marquez still has the fastest crash at that circuit from 5 years ago. There's corners on Mugello that, Zarco crashed at Casanova. That's not the fastest corner on the circuit, but the bike still reached the barrier. Even though Mugello is it's synonymous with Valentino Rossi and domination in Italian Grand Prix. It's probably the nicest circuit in the world, but it's got them aspects of danger. And I do worry a little bit that if we did start saying no to some circuits just on a little bit of danger, then maybe we would just not go racing at all.
I mean, yes, let's face facts. Motorcycle racing is dangerous. And if your prime desire in life was to stay out the hands of the medical profession, you probably wouldn't have become a motorcycle racer. So we all accept a certain amount of risk. Almost welcome it. But there is a finite limit to what is acceptable.
Yes.
And that's what has to be recognised. I mean, remember the tragedy of Luis Salom's death at Catalunya. Now, this wasn't like the accident to Tomizawa or Simoncelli, which were unavoidable. You crash and go down the track in the middle of a pack of bikes in the first couple of laps. Yeah. What happens to you is in the lap of the gods.
It became a multiple bike accident. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the circuit. Nothing to do with the circuit. But Luis Salom's accident was a lot to do with the circuit. In fact, everything to do with the circuit. And that paddock, top to bottom, we twisted ourselves inside out trying to work out, how did we miss that? How did that happen? Why didn't we see that? Should we have seen that? The place went into absolute...
almost shell-shock.
Driven introspection, if you like.
Yeah.
How did we miss that? How was that? How come we're racing somewhere where that can happen? And that was, what everybody tried to come to a sensible answer on. Followed up, of course, by, right, OK, now what do we do about it?
Yes.
But, you know, there is no cavalier acceptance of risk. One tries to minimise the risk while recognising fully you cannot eliminate it.
There's always going to be that aspect
as in most sports.
Yeah. Football that carries its own risks.
Yeah, the Australian lad who died playing cricket 2 years ago. You know,
Yes.
hit on the temple.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. People gruesome, awful, life-changing injuries playing rugby, horse riding. You know, anything with a bit of, you know, just about any sport.
Yeah.
You can hurt yourself at if you are unlucky and circumstances line up. What you try to do is make sure it's very, very difficult for all those circumstances to get in a straight line.
Yes. You try and limit the risk so that it's kind of like a risk versus vulnerability kind of. Marquez could say crash again at Mugello, but if they had even more runoff, the crash would be almost unrecognised. However, if you think back to the fatal accident of Yasutoma Nagai at Assen, a very safe surface. Yeah. He was about to get to his feet, but the bike gripped, flicked, and up in the air and got him, unfortunately. Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing you can do about that either.
No, there's not. And that kind of does bring me to the close of this safety bit. There is always going to be that risk, no matter what. You can't ever eliminate it, and sometimes it takes the unthinkable to happen to think, right, we'll make sure that doesn't happen again in the future. I mean, something as simple as bumps on a circuit until Louis Salom's accident was not a major safety aspect of racing. It wasn't high up on the list. It was more about where barriers were. But then, yes, the runoff at Catalunya that day wasn't sufficient enough, but it also it was out of Luis's hands from the moment the crash started to happen.
Yeah. But it was, I cannot tell you how deeply the circumstances of everything around that accident were examined by everybody in that paddock in a position of power and not in a position of power to try and work out why that was allowed to happen. How the hell did that come to pass? And to try, as you say, to make sure it couldn't happen again.
It is that, as you quite rightly put it, that fine line between acceptable risk and literally absolutely not acceptable. There is no kind of middle. No,
there is. It is. Acceptable with a sharp intake of breath, then not acceptable. Yeah. You know, is the way. I mean, there's plenty of places where if Daijiro Kato's accident at Suzuka, that could happen at turn 1 at Jerez, and others. You know, it's you will not eliminate risk. It is a risky sport, no question.
And that is a bit of the draw to it, as one goes through the ranks of, say, Cool Fab and up to British level and world level. Sometimes it is that element of I'm living on the edge that draws people to the sport in the first place, especially if you're a road racer.
Well, there we get into a very different argument, because you can't look at when there's an accident on the road. You can't look at how the hell did that happen. No. You know why it happened. It's a road.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
You know, and that is what there is. Now we've stepped over the line into where I personally have problems.
Yes. It's it is that difficult, as we've said, that difficult of what is fine and absolutely no, it's not. But for you then, final question: Mexican Grand Prix, does it go ahead? Should it? Yes or no?
I hope it does. But that implies, Kiko, my positive answer implies that acceptable safety work takes place.
Yes, and that absolutely must happen. That has to happen. It cannot run in this state this circuit is currently in.
I absolutely agree with that statement. I don't see how it can.
Julian, as ever, very insightful conversation with you. Wish you all the best, and hopefully we can hear more of you on various platforms. Before you go, what is your next gig? Where are you next?
I'm doing Dirtquake this month, and I'm doing the Boldor in September.
Oh, I assume you'd be alongside Terry Ryder for that one?
Yes.
Oh, so you get to listen to some wonderful stories of endurance and his own racing career as well.
Terry is wonderfully grumpy and wonderful to work with. If you want to know something about endurance racing, it's very simple. You ask Terry Ryder a question, then you shut up and listen.
Yes, I might take that advice if I ever get the pleasure of getting Terry on the show. But yeah, I'm sure you're enjoying yourself away from the hectic airports of Charles de Gaulle and Amsterdam Schiphol Airport.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julian. Been a pleasure as always. All the very best.
Thank you, Kiko.
Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Jamie Chadwick.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi, I'm Julian Zarco.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright.
Hi, I'm Seb Morris.
Hi, I'm Dan Linfoot from Honda Racing, British Superbike Team, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Motorsport Radio. The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Well, it was a really good interview, actually, Kiko. Well done. And that was Mr. Julian Ryder here on Motorsport Radio once again, talking about the world as it stands at the moment. You didn't actually get into and delve deep into too much into world superbikes though, and how it should be. I know he talked a bit about it, but we wanted to know his cure for it, and would he have elephants perhaps rolling
we
down
didn't
the
need to. We did not need to ask him that.
So,
We've already
so your
gained
solution for how to fix
it's the only one that anyone ever needs to know.
Well, I suppose if he just wants to know how ridiculous your solutions for fixing world superbikes are.
Yeah, he can go onto the motorsport.radio website and join the 1,700 other people who have liked it so far.
Exactly. Yes, motorsport.radio is where you're at the moment. My name's Lester, this is Kiko, and this is the Superbike Show, where we aim to do this sort of stuff every week. And we are keeping a close eye on all the latest talent that's flying around in motorsport at the moment, which will be broadcast as part of the Motorsport Awards at the end of the season on December the 9th. Motorsport Awards, brand new thing for this year. And we are proud to be the official broadcast partners of the Motorsport Awards. And you can check them out at motorsportawards.com, all the different categories. And maybe some of the young riders in BSB and people who are maybe on the road to MotoGP might win a Motorsport Awards. Riders who compete in the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, maybe. Yeah.
When's their next round, and how can they tune in to view it? That's what I want to know.
Well, funnily enough, it's this weekend, Kiko.
Unbelievable. Who's commentating?
Dan Marr is commentating, and yes, he will be. He'll be at Glenagors all weekend. And Kiko,
Thank you.
Dan Marr and Kiko Giles back on the old mic, screaming and shouting, and literally enjoying all of the racing action from Glenagors in Wales this weekend, and it will be streamed live all on motorsport.radio and on the Cool Fab Racing website and on their and ours social media accounts as well, basically everywhere. And also you can listen back to it if you are a rider competing into it, or if you just want to listen back to it and see just how well Kiko does in his commentary versus Dan Marr, maybe. I know he keeps track of that. I know he does.
I do not.
Cool Fab Racing.
All I keep track of is how many portions of beef roast dinner we have to endure with no gravy left. That's all I do.
Hi, chef.
More gravy.
Cool Fab Racing, we might take our own grave. Basically, yeah, we have to explain that joke because people are like, what the hell are you talking about now? But anyway, yeah, Kiko enjoys some free food while at these events, and some of them haven't been to Kiko's liking lately.
For yours, and your more specific.
I'm not complaining. It's free food.
Likelihood.
Oh, Stuart Everard would know. You know, the struggles. Basically, I mean, he would. You know.
I've been asking for black pudding for breakfast for 6 rounds now. Anyway. I hope there's bloody some near.
Cool Fab Racing this weekend, live on Motorsport Radio, and it's on the road to MotoGP, which is what we're going to talk about next. Where are they next? It's the old ostrich ring.
Osterreich ring, if you are old and ancient.
Oh, you mean the A1 ring?
The A1 ring, or Red Bull ring as it is now.
As Julian calls it, yeah, the A1 ring.
A1 ring, it's Zeltweg really, though. It's in the area of Zeltweg. But,
yeah,
some controversy to kick off proceedings. Maybe this round may not go ahead because of a little bit of rain. Heavy rain season that the whole event would be cancelled because we have a very slippery surface out there in Austria, and unfortunately that combined with rain normally ends up...
And them hills as well. It's up and down.
Them hills, the topography at land. But no, if that race does go ahead, then expect Ducati to be the manufacturer to beat again because they have won the last 2 races at that track. Andrea Dovizioso last year, Andrea Iannone the year before. Are we on course for another Jorge Lorenzo win? Or will Andrea Dovizioso do back-to-back wins for the first time this year? Find out at the weekend. Only Marc Marquez, Jorge Lorenzo and Danny Pedrosa have had podiums at the circuit in the Premier Class besides the winners. Valentino Rossi got a podium at the circuit 22 years ago. It was the first podium he ever had in MotoGP, and even then it was called the A1 ring. Even back then. So Valentino Rossi's the only rider on the grid to enjoy it through both, or 2 of its 3 names. Maverick Vinales hasn't had back-to-back DNFs in his entire MotoGP career, so watch out for that if it all goes wrong. And Suzuki have only had 1 top 10 at the circuit since the circuit came back onto the calendar, and that was with a certain Mr. Vinales in 2016. Expect the independent Ducati to go well. Alvaro Bautista was 8th last year. Loris Baz just in behind him in 9th. Aprilia's best result is 13th with Aleix Spargo last year. KTM's best result is 10th, which is unlikely to be bettered because that was by Mika Kallio, and their Polar Spargo, their star rider, is missing. We said that earlier on in the show. But they will have their massive hospitality unit, which will undoubtedly be on display again for the team's home round.
It's bigger than the grandstand, that, isn't it?
I think it is the grandstand.
Quite, yeah, maybe literally. Actually, probably, yeah. Anyway, yeah, Red Bull ring. And I have to say, as well, fair play to Red Bull as a company as well, just for keeping that racetrack alive. And when it was dead and buried, almost literally. You know, the grandstands were torn down. The racetrack was torn up in lots of places. Nobody wanted it, apart from fans who just wanted to remember what happened there. A lot of people remember it mostly, really, from Formula One. But yeah, you have to sort of congratulate. I know it's a few years old now, but still, fair play, Red Bull. You didn't have to do that and spend however many, probably hundreds of millions on it, I'm guessing. But you did. Well done.
I'm not impressed. I think the circuit's terrible. Why don't we just go to the Salzburg ring?
Well done, anyway. You're never impressed. Shut your face.
No, but seriously.
No, but why don't they just go to Donington?
No, it has 4 corners, more or less.
Yeah.
Turn one.
It can't help what it is.
Oh, come on. Why can't we use the old one? The one that runs from
You've just literally spent 40 minutes whinging with Julian Ryder about dangerous circuits. And then you said, why can't we just use the old one, which is clearly dangerous?
No, it's not, because the track is still there. The track is still there.
It's public road.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Shut your face, Valentino. Get on with it. Nobody cares.
You can buy it back. Even better, don't go to it.
Yeah, buy it back. Buy half of Austria back. Red Bull can afford it.
It's a boring
Just tarmac all over them. Then hills are too bumpy anyway. Just tarmac the whole of the bloody hills.
It's a boring circuit with no personality. It's in Austria, which is an amazing country and the better city in Austria out of Spielberg or Graz, however you want to say it, or classify where that place is, or Vienna or Salzburg, is Salzburg. Everyone knows this. Go to the Salzburg ring, do it up, spend millions on it. It's much better.
Yeah, spend millions on it. I'd do it myself. It's just that,
I haven't been paid.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a few quid short of a million. Anyway, so despite Kiko's heavy heart of having to endure the Grand Prix, Moto 2 still...
last time it clashed with the Cool Fab. I was quite devastated that I wasn't watching Le Mans. I managed to get Le Mans on the BT Sport. This one, it's like, really? I mean, I'm going to watch it, obviously, but it's just like... For such an amazing country that Austria is. Did Herman Tilke mess about with it?
It literally was his first ever racetrack, I think.
There you go. Everything that's wrong with it. Again, Herman Tilke, you've ruined it.
I think it was. I mean, it's very Tilke-esque. I mean, it's a thing in it. So like.
I'm looking him up. Talk about Moto 2 amongst yourselves, Lester.
Anyway, I'm just choking on Kiko's hypocrisy that he's spewing out. Anyway, so yeah, Moto 2. Miguel Oliveira was... I know.
1995, he decided to ruin it. But yes, Miguel Oliveira is your now series leader, of course. Unbelievable, really. Francesco Bagnaia seemingly tossed away a huge lead in this championship. So Miguel Oliveira, on a charge, crashed out last year when he was on a charge. Can he hold that championship lead? It is Red Bull KTM's home round. He is the only rider, I think, of the entire fleet of KTMs out there that is going to do the business. Francesco Bagnaia, fourth last year at the circuit. Needs to beat Miguel Oliveira really as we come into the second half of this championship. Alex Marquez, second last year, could do with finishing a race for a change. Brad Binder in the championship going well now, win and a sixth for the last two races. He could well be a spoiler. Great late race pace there at the Red Bull Ring last year. Jorge Navarro was eighth last year. He was eighth at Brno. He's in good form. Luca Marini on for his first win. How magical would that be? The half-brother of Valentino Rossi getting his first Grand Prix win at the same circuit that Valentino Rossi got his first Grand Prix podium. They would rename it the Valentino Rossi Luca Marini Raceway. It would actually be worth going to then. And you can never rule out Mattia Passini or Lorenzo Baldassari either. So lots to talk about. Don't discount Marcel Schrotter. He could be a spoiler here. He let me down on my accumulator last weekend of £500. Marcel, if you're watching, don't do it again. It wasn't funny.
I know his brother Derek Trotter.
Oh, funny. And he's got a cousin called Rodney.
Yeah. Anyway, Moto 3 then.
Talking of Uncle Albert.
Thank you. Moto 3, what's going to happen?
Marco Bezzecchi needs to capitalise on Jorge Martin's subsequent absence from the round. A win is ideal, but a podium is more a necessity for Marco Bezzecchi at this stage of the championship. Only 3 points in the lead, of course. Fabio Di Gianantonio back in the title race with that win that has revitalised his championship charge, looking to take back-to-back wins. He would be unbelievably happy with that, I'm sure, just a week after getting his first. You know what they say? Good luck comes in threes. He's got a couple yet to get to, but it's like waiting for a bus. Bastianini came from nowhere in Brno, as we said earlier, but could do with a podium. Needs to have that early race pace to put himself in position for a podium. Third at that circuit when Moto3 first went there in 2016. Jakob Kornfeil's got great momentum, 3 top 10s on the bounce, including a podium last time out at home in Brno. This is only across the border, quite literally. You could toss a pebble over and he would still probably be at home. He'd feel at home, and they all talk with that accent anyway, and it's all very nice and scenic. So without doubt, Jakob Kornfeil will more or less be at a home away from home. He could help Marco Bezzecchi, of course. The Prussel GP team are together, those two, Kornfeil and Bezzecchi. What can they come up with? Aaron Canet has a best of 5th at the circuit so far, needs a win this year, hasn't had one yet, an incredible statistic, really. Quick fact, Jakob Kornfeil hasn't retired from a race since Australia 2016. He's had no point scores, but he has finished every single race since then.
That is an interesting fact.
Did you know that?
Clearly not.
Well, you do now.
Neither do I care since knowing it. So.
Oh, yeah, Jakob, no.
Yeah, get him on and let him know.
I'll read him.
Yeah, will do. Right, so that's your preview then for the MotoGP, according to Kiko, worst ever racetrack ever on any calendar in all of history.
Now,
why did they bother until Mexico comes along, and then why do they bother, and then until the next round of somewhere else comes along, and then why do even they bother?
No.
Why don't they just have it at Donington?
It's actually quite funny. Paul Rennie sent us a comment on our post on Facebook, and it was about the Mexican Grand Prix. I'll have to find a quote. I don't want to misquote him here.
Yeah, this was following on from the comments that we were reading earlier, which we posted the other day, asking for your thoughts and opinions on the Mexican GP circuit. And various people were sharing their comments and opinions and such, and a lot of people's, I think even Stuart Everard said, well, if it's good enough for F1, then surely it's good enough for bikes. But as we've heard on this show, Julian Ryder saying that it's clearly not good enough at the moment as it stands, even though he would like it to be on the calendar, providing that it will be safe.
I found the comment. We put the post out yesterday. Is it a good idea to host the race at this venue? We want your thoughts below. That was what I put. This is regarding, should this venue host the Mexican Grand Prix?
What did he say?
Paul Rennie replied saying, I just want it back at Donington Park where it belongs. Car circuits are soulless.
The Mexican Grand Prix back where it belongs.
That is so funny at Donington Park. That is brilliant. Best comment. We have had a comment flood in on that post, I should say. Adam Weller, the only real highlight would be smoke off the tyres out of the final turn and drafting down the main straight. As of now, I think it, for the most part, at least, stands as a shining example of how to modernise a track properly. Making it suitable for MotoGP would probably scupper that a bit. So let us know your thoughts. Keep them coming in. There will be an article about the Mexican Grand Prix proposal and where else could there be a Mexican Grand Prix. There's not many places that spring to my mind. So let us know your thoughts. Mexico City. Possibly a MotoGP venue.
Yeah.
Or Donington for the Mexican Grand Prix.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's happening other motor racing, of course, like the European Grand Prix or I think it was the Swiss Grand Prix. It was in another country, or it was the Luxembourg Grand Prix. It was actually in Germany, and etc. But yeah.
But it's like the Swiss have a habit of doing things with other countries. I'm not on about trade deals. They can survive without them. But in 1955, there was the Le Mans accident, wasn't there?
I'm aware of something like that.
Yeah, the Le Mans 24-hour, a few people died. But the Swiss then banned motorsport because of an accident that happened in France.
They're
Why?
Well, probably because they were about 70 years ahead of Great Britain when we will ban motor racing because someone might die on a television.
Well, we're at that stage now, really, aren't we? Can't show that before 9 o'clock. You've got to be on Watershed.
Anyway, yes. So It's been a slightly morbid show.
No, it's been a controversial show, and it's been a long show. So if you're driving to Cadwell Park or to Gleneagles in the next couple of weeks, or even if you're plunging through the Austrian Alps to get to the most pointless circuit on the MotoGP calendar, tune in. Let us know what you think, and we'll be back next week, next Thursday, with even more great gossip, Lester.
More great gossip and reaction from all round the races as well, and also giving you updates as to the latest goings on and how you can get involved in the Motorsport Awards, which will be happening December the 9th here on Motorsport Radio, the exclusive broadcasters of the Motorsport Awards. And so check out how you can get involved. Head over to motorsportawards.com and get involved. If you are a brand looking to enhance your profile, or you are just a rider who might think you might be or deserves to be in with a shot with winning a Motorsport Awards. And these are the official Motorsport Awards. They are the only Motorsport Awards. Nowhere else will be able to say that they have the Motorsport Awards. But we do, right here on
Have the Motorsport Awards.
The Motorsport Awards. They literally are.
How many more times can he get it in? We'll give him a minute.
The
Go on.
Motorsport Awards. That's all really in. It's self-explanatory. It's literally as simple.
A Motorsport Award.
Exactly. Yeah. So whenever anybody talks about winning a Motorsport Awards, you will know that it's quite prestigious. This brand new trophy as well. I'll probably preview that for you next week anyway. But maybe one of the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship riders might win an award, and if they do, maybe they can audition for it this weekend, Kiko.
Maybe they can. We'll see. It won't be the chef, though, will it?
And thank you very much. That's all we've got time for on tonight's Superbike Show.
Joking.
Thank you very much. And Kiko wonders why he keeps getting food poisoning.
Bye.
Thank you very much. And yes, we'll be back next week on Superbike Show, unless Kiko has actually got food poisoning. Unfortunate.
Hi, I'm Ben Curry.
Hello, I'm Josh Elliott.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
I'm Keith Farmer. This is Motorsport Radio. Hi, I'm Julian Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Ryan Vickers, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Michael Laverty, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Bradley Ryder. This is Motorsport Radio.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.